If I offered you $1 to run 1 mile, would you do it? Let me first set the stage. It is the peak of summer in the South. It is 92 degrees outside with 85% humidity with a heat index of 101 degrees. So it is quite literally hot and heavy. Would you run the 1 mile for the $1? Now, if I made a similar offer of $10,000 to run under the same conditions, would you now run that mile? Would you be more motivated to run the mile? Would you have more of drive to increase your performance to run that mile? This leads into the topic of, do greater rewards cause greater motivation and performance? By Terrence Golden. This myth belongs in the social and personality domain of psychology. To begin, I started with informal research, which is just gathering information from the people. In this case, a psychology major, one of my close friends, and an online business help article. Upon asking the psychology major their opinion of the myth, they stated that the myth is false due to the fact that motivation peaks and performance has physical limits. In other words, a person can max out on how much they're able to be motivated. Their motivation bar is completely full. And performance can restrict the abilities of some people. For example, a person with 2 broken legs in a hospital bed could not run a mile for $10,000 if asked. And drawing from personal experience, the psychology major says they have a lack of motivation for external rewards, hinting that society on some level thinks of rewards as external tangible objects instead of internal satisfaction. They think the people who believe in the myth are just wrong. My close friend says that the myth is true. However, it is not how people should behave. Their child, for example, can be made to do the right thing when offered sweets. However, the goal is to not need that incentive to get the child to do the right thing, because that would be normalizing quid pro quo. And when applied to society, people could stop doing genuine acts because they're not being rewarded for their actions. Moving on to the business help article, the author says the myth is true and that personal rewards lead directly to more motivation, which results in increased work performance. After concluding the informal research, formal research conducted by professionals had to be examined. In these research studies, video games, funny videos, and, you guessed it, role play was used to address whether or not the myth was true. Starting with video games, the myth was determined to be false. According to a game I'll refer to as Catch the Dot, the participants were tasked with capturing a dot that was trying to avoid them, similar to how when playing Pac-Man, the player is supposed to chase the ghosts. And upon each successful capture of the dot, a monetary prize was given and the value increased. And it was noticed that as the value of the cash prize increased, the performance of the players or participants decreased, which goes against what the myth suggests. Increased rewards did cause an increase in motivation in the experiment, but it caused a decrease in performance due to choking under pressure. In the funny video experiment, the myth is also seen as false. Now, in this experiment, scientists tasked participants to watch a video, and one group was told, if you watch this video and do not laugh, you will get a reward. Another group wasn't told anything. They were just shown the video. And at the end, the results showed that a higher percentage of people that knew about the reward laughed at the video than the people that were not told anything about the video and were just shown the video. This suggests that not knowing about a reward causes your performance to be better than if you knew about the reward from the beginning. Last but not least is the role play study. In this study, scientists examined two aspects of the myth, which resulted in a situationally true and situationally false interpretation of the myth. Participants were tasked with assuming the role of a character in a backstory they were given to read, thus causing them to either have a happy mental state or a sad mental state, making them happy workers or sad workers. And then the scientists gave hypothetical rewards to the workers dependent upon performance. And it was shown that the happy workers had an increase in motivation and an increase in performance, whereas the sad workers did not have an increase in motivation and did not have an increase in performance. It was also seen that happy workers could become sad workers if the rewards were not what was expected in the beginning. And as you can see, the happy workers here fit the myth. Their motivation increased, their performance increased when the rewards increased. The sad workers do not follow the myth, they make the myth false. Their performance did not increase, their motivation did not increase when the rewards did increase. And that's where you get the situationally true and situationally false interpretation of the myth. In conclusion, the people's verdict is that the myth is true, whereas the professionals state the myth is false. And when viewed from a all or nothing perspective, technically the myth would be false because not everyone is going to say, I'm motivated by increased rewards. However, in reality and generally speaking, the myth is true. And so, in conclusion, part 2, I say the myth is not a myth, but an opinion that depends on whom you ask and the situation in which you find yourself. Even though scientists say that the myth is false, and let's say they tested 50 people, I could also go out and ask 50 individuals, and each one of them could go in opposition to what the science says. So there really is no definite answer. However, this lack of definition is not a bad thing. It is actually how we run as a society. For example, a business owner is considered successful if he can lead his people through adversity. Part of leading people through adversity is finding out their motivations and latching on to that and getting them to increase their performance because you found out what motivates them. All happy workers are not going to be motivated by external rewards. All sad workers are not going to be motivated by internal rewards. Even taking it a step further, raising a child. Initially, children are given external rewards for doing good things, such as you go to the potty, you get candy. But then as an adult, I don't get candy when I go to the potty. Sure, being an adult is part of it, but it's also because I have an internal motivation to not wet my pants. So my motivations in regards to using the bathroom have switched from external to internal. And that applies to multiple facets of our lives. So this myth, it's more of a way of living than anything. Thanks for watching.